big talking points like Madueke's hat-trick. Do we sell Nkunku off the back of that terrible situation that we saw in this evening's game? And of course, everything else FPL. If you are tuning in on the live stream, welcome to the stream. Please do drop a like on it. And of course, let me know who is tuning in on the chat. How many points did you score? Let me know in the comments section. We're going to go through my team, my plans as a current Nkunku owner. Of course, we need to reassess exactly what to do with him. And obviously, talk about all of the other stuff that has happened in Game Week 2. There is so much to talk about and so many prices changing tonight that we really do need to monitor and make a bit of an executive decision on what to do with those FPL assets. So I can see the regulars in the chat already. Cheekster, hope you're doing well, my friend. Ite Boone, 83 points without Haaland is a fantastic score. Morris asking a question, which I will come on to in a minute, my friend. Tahir saying he had a disaster in every way, but somehow managed 71 points. That doesn't sound like a terrible game week, my friend. 100 points for other people. Cheeks to 83 points. Keep them going in the chat, guys. But as I said, whole purpose of this is going to look back on Game Week 2. The things that you may have missed. Some of the performers. Some of those that maybe got unlucky that we need to keep an eye out for as well. So all of those good things. So first up, let's come into my team as we need to see how I got on. So 80 points for the team, which is an okay game week. It's nothing terrible. Obviously, we have Henderson between the sticks, which a lot of people have, and that has been a bit of a problem with my team. Saliba, Robinson, and Trent coming in. Need to check out who's picking up the Liverpool bonus points, which is going to include, right now, Diaz, Salah, and Konate, surprisingly, with a bonus point in there. But of course, things can change, as we have seen in FPL. Saka with the 6-pointer, Jota with a 6-pointer. Nkunku with 1, which is going to be a big talking point in this stream. Smith Rowe with the 10-pointer. And then we have Muniz, who is my new transfer off the back of the Solanke injury news. Isak, again, really disappointing. And Haaland with the captaincy, not the triple captaincy, with 34 points. Let me know again, guys, what you got. And anybody that got the triple captaincy on Erling Haaland, I have to tip my hat off to you. What an unbelievable performance you definitely had. Also, guys, just need to say, if you're watching this right now, you're not subscribed to the channel, be awesome to have you as a subscriber. As I've mentioned before, we're aiming for 18k before the Game Week 4 deadline, which is around the international break. If you could help along the way, that is always massively appreciated. But just to give you an update, pretty content with the week. If we take a look at my live overall rank, not blinds to go, let's get that off the screen right now. You can see, let me just refresh the page, see where we're looking at. We are looking at around 1.8 million in the world. Now, a lot of people are in a similar boat right now where they're seeing their rank being around 1 million plus 2 million, 3 million. Do not panic right now. It is so early doors. If your rank is in the millions, it is not a bad thing at all. We're kind of adjusting to the game right now. We're seeing the plays that are good. Some people are just getting incredibly unlucky right now. And I'm seeing a lot of people knee-jerking with transfers, with chips. Please don't be that manager. We've seen already what early transfers can do to your team. People have panicked. They made transfers tonight, for example. Who knows what is going to happen in the next 5 or 6 days, which will make that early transfer actually a bad move for your FPL team. So we need to come into this stream with a bit of a level head and decide exactly what to do with our team. Because you can see with my team, I got problems. We got Nkunku who's a bit of a problem. We got Alexander Isak with another blank. Is that going to... Well, I say another blank. A blank in this game where we were expecting something. Lewis Hall being benched. Barco. Problems in this team, but hopefully we can come into this with a bit of level head and not have any issues. So I can see some of the scores in here already. Mads, hello, 97 with triple captaincy and Haaland. That is cracking work there. Milo HD, should I use my free transfer to get in KDB and transfer out Bruno? I have 1.5 millions in the bank. And for me, right now, I think that is a no, but we will come into some of the stats on why I do think that is a no right now. Luis Diaz for Eze, again, Eze, incredibly unlucky not to deliver with some decent points in Game Week 2. Those that don't have Eze, we have dodged a bullet massively over the last few game weeks. And again, a player that we're going to touch on in a minute because he obviously is standing out in terms of the underlying numbers. But right now, I think we do have to have a little bit of a discussion on a certain Christopher Nkunku because it's a problem. Let's be real, it's a problem. Those that don't know, in Game Week 1, it came off early. Game Week 2, only got 7 minutes in the Wolves game, which is just horrific. Now, the problem with Nkunku is this: didn't start for Chelsea, and players that got subbed on before him include Pedro Neto at halftime, João Felix, and Dewsbury Hall. Nkunku was part of the last few players that come on when basically the game was safe and secure. What does that mean? Well, even if you think right now and you're sat there thinking, yeah, but Nkunku might come back into the team, he is a minute's risk regardless. There is too much attacking talent in this Chelsea team for him not to be an issue in our teams. If we take a look at the transfer section and we come into Chelsea's team, you can see here on the right-hand side, these are the midfielders, just the midfielders that he is competing with. Madueke off the back of that hat-trick, who is going to be bought by a lot of managers. And it's worth noting, Enzo Maresca has come out and stated that Madueke is the kind of winger that he wants in his team. That doesn't mean that he won't get sold, because the powers above obviously control the club at Chelsea. But if Madueke does survive this transfer window, he is going to be one of the starting players on that right-hand side. I do not think Nkunku is going to be competing with Madueke on that side. So if Madueke locks down the right-hand side, it means that we've got Cole Palmer, we've got João Felix, and we've got Christopher Nkunku alongside Dewsbury Hall fighting out for one of those midfield spots, which is not a good situation at all. We're not going to put Palmer in the Nkunku category because he's 10.5 million. He is in a completely different bracket of midfielder. He's competing with the likes of Sakas and Sons in our FPL teams. João Felix, coming on beforehand, he could all of a sudden be much more of an Enzo Maresca player. We need to remember, Nkunku was inherited by Enzo Maresca. Maresca has bought, in his time, Neto, and he has bought João Felix. And he's already come out and complimented someone like a Madueke being one of his go-to wingers. So straight away you think to yourself, is Nkunku actually just a problem for Maresca rather than a player that he does like? And looking at these options, like I said, it's a problem having Nkunku in our team. So what we're going to do now is come into the heat maps of this Chelsea game. This is all taken from Fantasy Football Fix for those that are interested. And we're going to take a look at whether these are actually players that we need to consider for our team. So on the right-hand side, you are going to see the average positions of the Chelsea team. Now, of course, I do apologise. It does include some of the substitutes in that game. But what we're going to focus on right now is going to be the positions of Madueke, Palmer, Jackson, and Caicedo and Fernandes. To get a bit of an understanding on whoever plays in this Chelsea team, what are the type of positions that they're taking up. And you can see there, Cole Palmer being the most advanced. Let's forget about Mudryk. He isn't even a player in this team. Madueke out on the right alongside Jackson. And then we've got the likes of Caicedo and Fernandes basically operating as a double pivot. So if you can get the right Chelsea player in this team, you're getting a fantastic asset because the average positions are great. They basically attack as a front four, which is really exciting. We don't see Cucurella bomb on. We don't see Malagusto bomb on as much as we have seen in previous game weeks. So there is opportunity in this Chelsea team. It's just all about getting the right one. And I don't know which one the right one is right now. I'm going to be honest with you. So coming down to some of the numbers in this game week, you can see here Madueke picking up, as we can see, 6 shots, 5 of those shots on target. 0.98 XG, which is massive. It's worth noting. Next best, someone Cole Palmer at 0.21. So Madueke honestly dominated everything in this Chelsea team. He picked up all the fantastic positions, obviously being assisted by Palmer, who equally had 5 shots but 4 attempted assists. So in this situation right now that we saw against Wolves, it very much was Palmer being the creator in this team and Madueke being the goal scorer. But let's not take it away from the 5 shots that Palmer did have in that game. If you can pay 10.5, you go to Cole Palmer. You know that his minutes are going to be locked in, whether he plays as the 10, whether he plays on the right midfield. Regardless, he is FPL gold continuously. But we know with these 6.5 millions in the game, Madueke, we've got João Felix, we've got Nkunku, we've even got Nicholas Jackson at 7 million as a forward right now. As you can see, 7.5, I do apologise. I feel like Palmer is still the best option, but there's too many great options in this Chelsea team to necessarily jump to Cole Palmer. My issue right now, if you're selling Nkunku, is you're going to go to another Chelsea asset and he is going to be equally a minute's risk. And that is why I feel like at the time of recording, if you own Nkunku, I think selling him is the right option. But going to Madueke could just be selling a problem to another problem. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But as of right now, I personally think Madueke is super exciting. I think he could explode as an FPL option. I do think his minutes are going to continue to be good while the comments are great. And look at the fixtures coming up. Palace at home, Bournemouth away, West Ham away, Brighton at home. I think the Chelsea attack could score a lot of goals, but could we possibly see Madueke be a bit of a minutes risk if he has to try and fit all these players in the team? That is my one concern with Madueke. I think you're maybe selling a problem player in Nkunku to another potential problem player later down the line. Let's see what the chat is saying right now. What are the chats saying right now? Will Madueke be punished for his Instagram stunt against Wolves? Is that something to consider? Personally, no. I think he won't get done for that unless Chelsea really are doubling down. But I can't see it myself. I think it may be just a little bit of a fine, maybe a tap on the wrist, and that is it. Nkunku owners told you so before the season started, saying FPL Tony, yes, it looks like this has come to fruition massively. Neto looks a better option in my opinion. Yes, I do agree. But again, are we going to see Neto rotated? I think this is definitely something that's going to happen. I'm going to bring it back to this, guys. Look at those midfielders right now. Madueke, Palmer, João Felix, Neto, Enzo Caicedo and Lavia are fighting out. Dewsbury Hall isn't an option. Nkunku isn't completely out of the picture. This is still an elite player that has to be integrated into this Chelsea team. So it means if we have the assumption that Cole Palmer is going to start each and every game week in some position, whether it be off the right or in the 10, we have only got the forward, the left wing, and basically, let's say, the right wing to compete. If Madueke is going to be locked in on the right, we got two positions to fight out amongst Nicholas Jackson, João Felix, Neto. There's just problems in this Chelsea team. If you want to be brave and go to one, I think there is absolutely potential to go there. But for me, I think it's too much of a risk right now. I honestly do. I just think it's too much of a risk to touch this Chelsea team. And I think if you go for one, you could get lucky. And if I had to pick one, it would be Madueke at 6.5 because I think he is the only one that could play on that right that does exactly what Enzo Maresca was doing in that Leicester team. What are people saying here? Martin, I agree. Very risky change. He will definitely... Yeah, so this is the thing. I think Nkunku is probably a sell. I think we've seen too much now to think that he is going to be starting each and every game week. I think he's a big, big problem for our FPL teams. And I think right now, being an owner with my team coming into game week 3, can I comfortably sit here and say to you that he is going to play against Crystal Palace at home? I think the answer is no. I'm going to be honest. Chelsea do have a second leg against Servette on Thursday night, which is really important to note. You do need to remember that. But we saw Nkunku start on the first leg of Thursday night. I thought my assumption was that's good. He come off of around the 60th minute. He is going to be integrated back into the Chelsea team. Lo and behold, was benched. So we don't even know what the answer will be. If he starts the second leg against Servette, does that mean he's then benched in the Crystal Palace home game? I think it probably could be. So I think there's enough problems right now to think Nkunku comes out of our team. You can see with my team, I'm not in a terrible position because I can, if I wanted to, bring in Rodgers for the away game against Leicester. And if I want to roll my transfer, I can with Christopher Nkunku on the bench. But similar to the situation I had with Solanke, if I know this player is not going to play, can I capitalise on another player for this game week? Now, just looking at some options available, I'm one of those managers that does have 1.5 million available to get rid of Christopher Nkunku. So with 8 million in the bank, that's a good situation to be in. If we filter the team here and we go by price, is Luis Diaz maybe the option? Maybe everyone's being attracted by someone like a Madueke at Chelsea. If you're in one of those positions where maybe you made the downgrade in game week 2 from a Solanke down to a Muniz, is this the answer? Do we just completely forget about the 6.5 million option? We're now blessed with a bit of cash in the bank. Do we just go for someone like a Luis Diaz who's had a fantastic start to the season here? And yes, I know he blanked in game week 1, but any other day he would have delivered. He had a 0.84 expected goal involvement in game week 1. So I know he blanked, but he could have done even better in game week 1 to what we saw in game week 2. fantastic start to the season. That could be an obvious move for a lot of FPL managers right now. I know it's Man United away in game week 3, but let's be real. Man United away is not a terrible fixture for them. Anthony Gordon at a similar price. This could be another player that we need to consider for our teams off the back of a monster underlying numbers against Bournemouth. So what I'm trying to say to you is this. Even though you could be attracted to invest into the Chelsea team who scores 6 goals against Wolves, maybe it's actually a bit of a problem. And avoiding Chelsea altogether is the route to go for because the uncertainty of all of the players, and maybe going for a player that is a bit more certain that you have the funds to go for, like a Luis Diaz or maybe an Anthony Gordon or Eze, a guy that we need to talk about and we're going to come on to in a minute with the stats because I really want to get this up on the screens for you guys to get a bit of a understanding on the players that have stood out in the opening few game weeks and maybe the ones that have actually been very, very unfortunate. So what I'm going to do right now, this again is taken from Fantasy Football Fix. And again, for anyone that's enjoying the stream, please do drop a like. We're covering off Nkunku. We're covering off all the underlying numbers from game week 2 and obviously previewing game week 3. But I want to take a look right now at the players that have really stood out in the opening 2 game weeks. Again, we can't come to any massive conclusions, but maybe the ones that are getting unlucky, because those are the ones that I really do like the look of. The ones that are getting unlucky, continuing to put the numbers where you think to yourself, on another day, this guy could have delivered big returns. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to put it based on expected FPL returns. So this takes into account XG, expected assists, bonus points, the works. I like looking at this number. So top of the tree right now is going to be Luis Diaz. Over those opening 2, I'll tell you what, they haven't even... Let me refresh this. Okay, so I think it has updated. It's just not updated the games column because you can see the points are 17, which reflects, I believe, his goal scoring. Let me just check. Luis Diaz has scored 14 points and the stats heat box has got 17, including the bonus. Cool. So it's all updated. Sorry, I just wanted to double check it was updated for you guys. So you can see right now, Luis Diaz is basically on par. He was expected to have 19.69. He's had 17 points. Trent ticking over really nicely. Actually could have had more points than the 14 that he's had in the bank. Interestingly, Haaland overperforming, but when it's someone like Haaland, when he's an elite goal scorer, an elite finisher, I don't really read too much into that personally. Mo Salah, again, another player who is overperforming his numbers, but when he's an elite finisher, a top bracket player, I don't really read too much into that. I think he is just one of those out with the norm players. The ones that are really screaming out of the box right now is Semenyo, 5.5 million option, expected FPL points 16.05, only delivered 13. I mean, he's a player that really should be on everybody's radar right now. Maybe he's going to step up as the Solanke replacement in that Bournemouth team. Other players that are really standing out, Danny Welbeck, slightly overperforming, I would say, but still putting up some really good numbers and still budget at 5.6 million. Souček, I see, I know I owe a pint here to just seeing if he's wrote a comment. Gee whiz, I mentioned in my previous stream, if Souček bags a goal, I owe you a pint. I will deliver on that when we get a meetup at some point in the future, my friend. But yes, Souček is very, very interested right now for sure. Delivering 5 million midfielder, 1.58 XG, solid numbers, 8 shots, some of the best around. I mean, gotta look at Souček maybe as an option. But I want to come down to a few other options that maybe are very, very unlucky. And the first up is going to be Bruno Fernandes. I see a lot of people talking right now saying that they're going to sell Bruno Fernandes in their teams. So first up, you need to note, you've been incredibly unlucky. He's expected to have 12.78 points. He's only had 5. He's had 7 shots. He's had an XG of 1.16, an expected assist of 0.67. He has done everything right other than deliver you FPL points. And honestly, I think if you were sat there right now looking to sell Bruno Fernandes in your team, I get it because he has Liverpool in game week 3 and it's not great. But him as an actual asset has been fantastic. It's just the fact that he hasn't gotten lucky like some other assets have, And the other ones that are slightly cheaper are delivering week in, week out. So I would sit here and say this to you. He's been unlucky. And do you really need to sell him for another option? If you do, then yes, go ahead. But all I want to say is this. I wouldn't be surprised if he delivers in game week 3 because the numbers have been so good. But we had this problem last season where Bruno Fernandes and Rashford stunk up our team for 6, 7, 8 game weeks and we didn't address the situation. So I get it. Selling Bruno Fernandes can make sense of some of the cheaper options. And if it's part of maybe an upgrade for another player, then crack on. But just note, Bruno Fernandes has been very, very unlucky. Some other players I think have been incredibly unlucky is going to be, Williams, but yeah, let's not really touch on that. I want to look at Eze here. This is the big one. So in the 2 games that he's played, people are looking to sell Eze. He's only had 4 FPL points, but when you look at it, 10.09 expected FPL points. He's had an XG of 0.94, expected assists of 0.3. He's had the most shots of any player at 12, but only 4 of those on target. But still, the shot volume is the thing that I'm really interested in. And again, if you own Eze right now, I know you want to sell him at 7 million. He's not doing you justice, but we've seen Chelsea against Wolves. They are, even though they're going to score goals, Chelsea, they're going to concede a lot of goals as well. And Eze, with his shot volume coming into game week 3 against Chelsea, I don't think that's as much of a desperate transfer as what a lot of managers are talking about. I think Eze comes into the same bracket as Bruno Fernandes, where he has been incredibly unlucky. And another day, he could be sat here with 10 FPL points and nobody's even batting an eyelid at selling Eze. So if you're in a position where you sell Eze, for me, I think he's still a keep. But I get it. There's cheaper options available that are delivering the goods for you. But I just want to sit here and tell you that you've been unlucky. And Eze still is a fantastic option for your teams. Outside of this, I think that probably is the most substantial players. I think that is the biggest discrepancy in terms of expected FPL points to actual FPL points. I think those are the main ones that we wanted to talk about here. I mean, Diaz, but again, I don't think anyone's looking to invest in that. So that's a little bit of a recap on the stats. I think that's really important to note the players that are getting very unlucky in the game. So let me know what your points are, guys. And of course, a little bit of a idea on what you're doing in game week. In game week 3, I'm just seeing some of the conversations in the chat. Should I place Murphy or Nkunku? Having both is killing me. I think because Nkunku 6.5, I think that probably is a preference maybe to look elsewhere and look to invest in a different team. Feeling like rolling the transfer because I have Rodgers. Yes, I do think that could be a viable move. And for those people that maybe are asking the question about what is going on with the price changes, let's just get that up on your screens for now because I think that is quite important to note what is happening. So this is taken from Fantasy Football Fix. There are other sites out there, but the one I do follow is Fantasy Football Fix, but Hub have one. There's loads out there. So look at the potential players that are going to rise in price. They include Smith Rowe, Robinson, Saka, Kevin De Bruyne. The players that look like they could rise in price, fall in price is going to be Christopher Nkunku. Now, you can see he isn't at 100%, but look at the progress per hour. Basically, he is getting sold by loads of managers right now. And based on the volume of transfers out, it does look like he is going to fall in price tonight to 6.4 million. Now, this might not be a problem for maybe some of the managers out there that are looking to downgrade, maybe to a Smith Rowe. You could probably let this price fall if you want to, but just note, we might have a situation tonight where Nkunku falls as Smith Rowe rises, and there'll be a slight 0.2 difference in that if you don't move it tonight. But like most times, I do try and urge patience. I personally think gathering a bit of information before the week is actually better than being aggressive with your transfers. The only time I would do it is if you own Nkunku at 6.5 and you're looking to invest in another 6.5 million option like a Madueke. Now, a lot of people are asking, what's going to happen with Madueke? Well, it doesn't look like there is going to be anything going on with him. Remember, his price fell to 6.4 million off the back of game week 1 when he didn't get picked. So coming into game week 3, he has a lot to pick up, and I can't see anything happen with Madueke tonight if you were looking to invest in him. It's more a case of Nkunku falling in price rather than that. In terms of other players, Jacob Murphy looks like he could fall in price. That is a bit of a problem for managers, but again, I would urge patience if you can, just because I think we got a lot of information to learn over the midweek. Because remember, Chelsea are playing on the Thursday night. All of these not really interesting players. I'll be surprised if they were. Ake falling, I don't think that's relevant. Now, Solanke is an interesting one. I don't think his price is going to fall, even though it is raised. But I would like someone in the chat maybe to let me know what the situation right now is with Dominic Solanke. I do need to have a little bit of an update on him. And the big one, Somerville. No, nobody owns Somerville, let's be real. The big one's going to be this, Phil Foden. I am delighted that Phil Foden wasn't available in game week 2, because that price is going to fall to maybe 9.4, maybe 9.3 if we get lucky. And anybody sat there right now will know that that could be phenomenal value in the coming game week. So we do need to monitor that one with Phil Foden. But the big thing you need to note about price changes is that Nkunku looks like he's going to fall, and that is the main thing. So next up, what I want to come into, guys, is a little bit of the good stuff. So we saw this in terms of Chelsea. I think we've covered it off. Madueke absolutely dominating it in terms of Chelsea's XG, and Chelsea are basically just an avoid in my eyes, because I have no idea who is going to play each and every game week. If you do want to invest in Chelsea, I probably would recommend waiting until after the Thursday night game in the Europa League, just to gain a bit of information. Now, take a look at Man City. Looking at the positions of the players, basically just dominated the game. Let's be real, they just absolutely dominated the game. And when we take a look at the underlying numbers for this performance, Erling Haaland putting up a casual 1.73. Now, of course, a penalty was involved in that, and I get it. Off the back of a hat-trick, everybody does now want a piece of Erling Haaland. When we take a look at the upcoming fixtures, West Ham away, invested well in the transfer window, so we could see maybe a bit more of a resolute West Ham than previous seasons. Then Brentford at home, which, I mean, I think he could do very well in. Then they've got a tricky period around game weeks 5 and 6 when maybe managers are looking to wildcard. Look, should you be ripping up your teams to bring Haaland in? It depends on how much money you got in the bank. If you had the funds available, then yes, I do think he's a good option for your teams. I thought my screen was going to fall then. But otherwise, Haaland's such a tough player to afford at 15 million. Maybe you just accept the fact that you went without him and you got to go without him for a little bit longer until maybe you choose to wildcard in game week 4 to 6. I think it's so difficult to have him in your teams. I'm going to be honest. I think it's very difficult to squeeze in your teams. Some other notes. Lewis, incredibly lucky for those that didn't have Rico Lewis. He missed that absolute sitter right in front of the goal where he rattled the crossbar. On another day, he gets you some big points. De Bruyne, just doing De Bruyne bits. Basically a 1 expected assist, 0.35 XG. I think he's going to continue to tick over in those teams. And I think he's a good investment if you want to go there. But 9.5 million is a lot of money and a difficult player to justify when we got so many cheap options in the midfield doing similar stuff. So I think De Bruyne's an avoid for now. A lot of people talking about Savio, however you want to look at him. Good numbers. Got a 9-pointer. Think it's an interesting one. But again, 70 minutes being substituted. Is he going to be susceptible? I think that's still an avoid for now in this Man City team. Finally, in terms of the heat maps, just want to take a look at the numbers that got put up in the Liverpool-Brentford game. So, in terms of XG, Diogo Jota again putting up some solid numbers. 0.81 XG, 0.75 expected assists. Is that actually correct? Wow. So, again, if you own Diogo Jota, you're laughing. You're more than happy with this. Yes, it is a problem that he's coming off on the 71st minute, especially when we look at someone like a Mo Salah. Now, look, Mo Salah's the one that comes away with the 10-point haul, but if you're a Diogo Jota owner, you're gutted, let's be real. 0.75 XA, 0.81 expected goals. Like, don't panic. I think that's absolutely fine if you own Diogo Jota. He's coming off early. But if you're on his slot, you're looking at this thinking, this is working. Whatever Diogo Jota's doing, it's working. He's putting up the numbers for my team. He works hard. Yes, he is coming off early, but there's no way Diogo Jota comes out of this Liverpool team. The issue that you have to accept is that he is going to be a 70, 75-minute man. But if he continues to put up these numbers, I'm content with that at 7.5 million. The problem is bloody Mo Salah being so much more expensive, but right now justifying the 5 million more. I'm going to be honest with you. Those managers that had Haaland and Salah have killed it, and they've done fantastic. But on another day, Diogo Jota is putting up better numbers than Mo Salah, and we're sat here thinking, happy days, we are the ones that got right. So I don't think you need to jump to Mo Salah right now, I'm going to be honest. I think Jota, Diaz are offering perfectly good alternatives to Mo Salah for you to need to rip up your teams. And even though Mo Salah's ticking over nicely, I'm not sitting here really right now thinking to myself, I need to squeeze Mo Salah in my team. I actually think continuing to avoid him is probably still the best strategy for your teams, because it requires too much surgery for you to go there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on that one. We're going to put up my team just to leave it there for now, just so we can get through some of the comments, because I know you guys have been firing off loads in the chat. So Gordon to Kevin De Bruyne, don't mind it, but I just think it isn't necessary right now. I think Gordon could do well against Spurs, and I think you're going to have to free up funds to make that move, and I just don't think it is absolutely justified right now based on what we've seen. Who is the best Nkunku replacement? Now, a lot of people are naturally going to be going to Madueke based off the hat-trick, but personally, I think you could get lucky. But there's just going to be so much rotation in this Chelsea team. One week it'll be Madueke, the next week it'll be João Felix. One week I can guarantee you it's going to be Nkunku. I think if you're going to be selling Nkunku, I probably wouldn't go to Chelsea unless it is Madueke, because I think Madueke is probably the only one that can play on that right-hand side in an Enzo Maresca team. So if it is going to be a Chelsea asset, I think it has to be Madueke. I don't know about João Felix minutes. I don't know about Pedro Neto's explosive nature, whether he actually can deliver FPL points. So I think it's Madueke if anybody. If you're looking at alternative, I think you either come down maybe to somebody like a Smith Rowe or a Rodgers, or if you've got the money available, you upgrade it to a Luis Diaz and get yourself another piece like Liverpool attack, who are putting up such good numbers right now. And again, if you're tuning into the stream, guys, and you're enjoying it, please do consider dropping a like. Always aim for 100 likes. If you could do so, that would be awesome. And if you're not a subscriber already, it'd be awesome to have you on board this year. I've always said we're aiming for 18k before the international break. A crazy goal, but if you're enjoying this right now and you could, that would be awesome. Just want to put a quick poll in the chat, guys. I want to see some stuff. Best Nkunku replacement. Guys, I want you to let me know. Is it Madueke? Is it going to be someone like a Diaz? Is it an Eze? Is it an Eze? Is it a Diaz? Who else? Smith Rowe. Or could it be a Rodgers? Please let me know in the poll, guys. And if it's anyone outside of that poll, just put a little bit of a comment who you think the best Nkunku replacement is. I'll be super interested to know. And because this is a live stream, maybe if you're watching this back right now and it's been a bit all over the place, what I want to do right now is let the chat drive this live stream. So we've covered off basically all of the big games. We've covered off the underlying numbers. We've covered off the Nkunku replacements. We've done all the good stuff. I want to kind of go for a bit of a free flow now for maybe the next 20 minutes and get a bit of an understanding on who do you want me to talk about, and we can kind of go off that sort of flow right now. And let me know, obviously, in the chat on that poll, who is your best Nkunku replacement. So let's take a look at some of this chat right now. So Solanke is locked, but don't understand why. Okay, thank you for that. That's great to know. So basically, Solanke is locked in at 7.5. It looks like nobody knows why. Opinions on Wood. You keep him if you own Chris Wood. Let's just get him up right now. So anybody that watched the game will know that Chris Wood stuck a ball across the box and it was ridiculously unlucky that they didn't. I don't really understand whether he was offside or not, but that expected assist should have been like 1 because he stuck a ball across the box and the guy missed it from like a yard out. So I think Chris Wood's fine. If you own him, you keep him for this Wolves game where we've just conceded 6 goals. But then maybe after that, we look at other options. I think Chris Wood is perfectly fine to keep, but he's obviously, you don't buy him right now because I just think there is no point investing in him when games after that are going to be Liverpool and Brighton. So stick with Wood, but also you're not buying him. I've done Nkunku to Smith Rowe vintage saying I might upgrade Henderson to Raya. Yes, I don't mind that. The only thing that I will say is it the time to be buying Raya? You're going to get Brighton at home, but of course they've done a really good job on Man United. Then they got Spurs away, City away. Not the best time to have a piece of Arsenal if you're going to be buying right now. So I like the move that you firstly proposed, Nkunku to Smith Rowe, but is Henderson to Raya the time to do it? You're going to get good results maybe in game week 3, but after that, is it actually the best route to go for? Should I get Van Dijk or Robinson in for game week 3? Well, looking at Robinson right now and his upcoming fixtures, Ipswich away, don't love it, to be honest with you, but he could pick up a clean sheet, and we've seen the attacking potential already from him. Then West Ham at home. I mean, West Ham have the weapons to hurt any team, so I don't think the clean sheets are going to be there for Fulham, but I like Robinson as an attacking fullback option. Van Dijk, perfectly fine to go there if you want to. Looking at the numbers, the fixtures for Liverpool here, we can see Man United away. Doesn't feel like the right time to invest in Liverpool, but then some great fixtures after that if you want to go there. Would I sell Wood to Welbeck this week? No, I wouldn't. I would be sticking with Wood in my team. Liam, does that involve selling? When I talk about avoiding Chelsea, no. If you have Cole Palmer available to you, that is the route to go for, I personally think. The thing I'm trying to say is this. I think this is the year where there are going to be alternatives to Cole Palmer in this Chelsea team. But at 6.5 million, we've got João Felix, Madueke, Nkunku, Pedro Neto. I honestly think, and I wouldn't be surprised, each and every game week, if we were to see different players haul each and every game week, and that is going to be a problem. So for me, getting a piece of the Chelsea attack is going to be available to us, but I just think it could be a different player each and every game week, and for that reason, I think maybe just avoiding them for now until we have stability in this Chelsea team is the route to go for. But if I had to invest in one, it would be Palmer number 1, then Madueke at the same price at 6.5. Minimal Spark said he sold Nkunku to Gibbs White. Don't mind it, but I don't love the fixtures after game week 3. What's my opinion on triple Fulham? I don't love it. I've kind of stumbled across the triple Fulham situation, but I'm happy to keep it for the next couple of game weeks and then reassess in a wild card. Because to be honest with you, when we look at the numbers for... Let's just get this up a minute. Sorry, guys. I'm just getting up the numbers just for game week 2 in isolation. I just want to show you the players that really did put up the fantastic numbers. So, Haaland with a 1.73 XG, massive numbers, but we're going to expect that, obviously. Cunha with 1.04. Now, I'm really surprised that Muniz is not on this list because it felt like he missed a lot of sitters. So, where is he at? I do apologise. I was making an assumption that Muniz was really going to be on this list. Now, that feels quite surprising having watched the highlights. Muniz with a 0.26 XG, 0.18 expected assists. But what you can see there, 7 shots from Muniz, 2 of those on target. But realistically, 7 of those being in the box. Those are just... How does that compare to everyone else? Let's take a look. When we look at shots, Muniz with the joint most shots, but when it comes to in the box, 7 of those being in the box. I'm going to be honest, if you own Muniz and you're one of those that brought him in, I think you've still got a good option on your hands. The shot volume is fantastic. We always know that with Muniz. And importantly, I think his minutes are going to be solid in this Fulham team. So Muniz is a brilliant option for your teams. And if you're tripled up on Fulham, I think it's absolutely fine right now. Nkunku to Eze is a no-brainer according to this. And to be honest with you, I think, and I've spoken about this, Eze owners are very unlucky not to have a haul by now. Should I keep Eze or sell him? Personally, I think you keep him. I think that he is ticking over nicely, even though the returns haven't been there. Lee's saying just wildcard is thinking no Salah, no Haaland. That is brave. Now, what I'm going to say is this, and I've spoken about this before. Game weeks 1 to 2, just looking at Liverpool assets. And we look at just the attackers. Expected FPL points. Diaz at 19.69. Salah at 16.13. Jota at 15.67. So, I think we can come to this conclusion. No, let's be real. We can't come to any conclusion based off 2 game weeks. But what I think is true is this. We are going to have value in this Liverpool team. In pre-season, we spoke about how Mo Salah is by far and away the best Liverpool asset. However, there's a difference between being the best Liverpool asset and the best value Liverpool asset. And I think we all knew coming into game week 1 that Diaz and Jota, if they got the game time based on last season's numbers, could compete with Mo Salah in terms of FPL value. And we're seeing that once again. And I honestly do believe if you're in a position right now where you can sell Nkunku to get Luis Diaz, similar to myself, maybe that is the route to go for right now. The only problem, of course, is the competition for places. I think that front 3 is locked in right now. I do not see Darwin Núñez or Gakpo displacing Jota or Luis Diaz. But what I do see happening continuously is, for example, Diaz coming off early, Jota coming off early to build minutes in the other players' legs. That is my main concern. But right now, I'm not sat here as a non-Mo Salah owner thinking to myself, oh my God, I need to get Mo Salah in the team. He's always going to score goals. It's Mo Salah. But I think I'm pretty content. If I'm Jota, I'm happy. If I got Diaz, I'm happy. If I got both, I'm content. I wouldn't be looking to wildcard right now and absolutely have Mo Salah on my team. The one thing I'm going to say to you is this. Not having Mo Salah, not having Haaland is a problem because if you need to get there, you've got no player close to those price points that can enable you to get there easily. Now, what I want to do quickly is take a look at preview in game week 3. Because that's what we're here for right now, isn't it? Is having a look at game week 3 and the fixtures. So let's get them up on your screens right now. Arsenal at home to Brighton. If you own Arsenal assets, happy days. If you're looking to invest in Arsenal, I don't think necessarily is the time to do so. Brighton at home in game week 3 is fantastic. But after that, game week 4 and 5 is very, very difficult. Yes, I do think Arsenal are a good investment. And we're taking a look at the transfers in. We can see right now it is all about Smith Rowe. There isn't really a massive pull towards Arsenal. I do think Saka is always going to be a good investment, but with the other players available in the game, it does feel like there are other alternatives for the next 3 game weeks. So Arsenal are great, but I think you just almost, if you have them, you keep them. I don't think you need to add to your Arsenal right now, looking more longer term, unless you're looking to wildcard in game week 4. I think this fixture is just kind of irrelevant. This is an irrelevant fixture. This is good. You play your Fulham in the game against Ipswich, absolutely fine. Leicester versus Aston Villa. If you have your Morgan Rogers, you buy them. I'm going to come on to Ollie Watkins in a minute because this is definitely a player that we need to talk about in our teams. Forest Wolves. If you have Chris Wood, you start him. If you have a Nottingham Forest defender, you probably start him. But probably you start your premiums obviously ahead of them. Wolves, I don't think many people have any Wolves. West Ham City, I think this is going to be a tough game. And I do think looking outside of captaincy on Haaland is a viable strategy in this game week. Because West Ham, I think, are going to be good under Lopetegui defensively. Chelsea at home against Palace, as I've spoken about. You start all of your Chelsea assets that you own. But would I be buying Chelsea? I don't think so. Unless it's Madueke or Cole Palmer. and you know with Madueke the minutes are still a potential risk. In terms of Newcastle Spurs, this is a problem, because if you're sat there with Alexander Isak, you're panicking because he isn't necessarily doing the job for you, and you're looking at that Aston Villa fixture thinking, ooh, Isak to Watkins could be on the cards this week, and it's something we're going to touch on in a minute. Spurs, I think you just play your Spurs. I just think you play your Spurs and you accept what you've got. And finally, Man United versus Liverpool. I don't need to say this. You play all your Liverpool. You play your Liverpool over your Man United. I think if you have Bruno Fernandes, I would still keep him personally. I still think the numbers are solid. I see we've got a super chat here from M. Alzania saying Semenyo or Tavernier. First and foremost, my friend, thank you so much for the super chat. Didn't have to do that, but it is massively appreciated. So I think firstly what we need to do is address, if you're looking to buy Bournemouth, is Bournemouth actually a team you need to invest in? So looking at the upcoming fixtures, Everton away, I mean, Everton have been awful. But if Everton were to pick up a point, I would always fancy them at Goodison Park. Then they got Chelsea at home. They're leaking goals. I don't look at Chelsea. I think Bournemouth might lose that game, but I don't think they necessarily don't score in that game. Then Liverpool away is dreadful, followed by some good fixtures around this point. So I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't be looking necessarily to desperately buy Bournemouth players. That's my honest opinion. But if we're in a position right now where we may be looking to invest in either Tavernier or Semenyo, we got to come to the underlying numbers firstly to take a look at the two. And we'll get these up here. And again, guys, please do put any comparisons that you do want to have in the chat. Obviously, if you want to drop a super chat, that will obviously push it up, but it's not desperate, obviously. So the two that we have here is Tavernier and Semenyo, of course. So both coming in as midfielders, as we know. Semenyo at 5.5, Tavernier at 5.5 as well. So just note, even though it does say one game, they both have played two based on the stats that we're looking at. So in terms of XG, very, very similar. 1.14 for Semenyo, 1.07 for Tavernier. Semenyo, honestly, has been a monster with 1.62 expected assists. Tavernier at 0.67. So what's going to be super handy right now is actually to take a look at the touch heat map for both players in the match centre to get a bit of an understanding on where they're taking up their roles. So in the Bournemouth game against Newcastle, we can see here Tavernier's position being pretty high up. Semenyo's, on the other hand, pretty identical. I'm not going to lie. Very, very identical. And in this game specifically, Tavernier putting up really solid numbers of 0.84, Semenyo at 0.48. So honestly, it is very, very close between the two. However, if I wanted to invest in one, personally, I still think I would go for Semenyo. I really think that he's stepping up in this team. I think it's worth noting the shot volume of Tavernier in game week 1 was fantastic and his general numbers were brilliant. But if I had to lean between one or of the two, it would be Semenyo. I think the shot volume is fantastic. He's offering brilliant all-round play, and I think he is trying to be the main man in this Bournemouth team. So thank you for the super chat. For me, it would be Semenyo of the two, but both are offering incredible value at that price point. What we got in the chat, guys? What we got in the chat? Robinson points been updated, be given 2 bonus, not 1, which is absolutely mega. Well, that's absolutely sick news. Brilliant. That's great to see. Rodgers or Smith Rowe. Okay, this is a great comparison, something that we need to look at. And this would be really handy maybe for those managers that are looking to invest in either player. So give me 2 seconds, guys. This will be really helpful, so do stick around. We're going to look at the player heat map for both players right now over the course of the season so far. So if we just get up Smith Rowe and we get up a certain Rodgers wherever he may be. Give me 2 seconds, guys. I'm doing some stuff in the background here, but it will be worth it, don't worry. If I can find him. Rodgers, where you at? Okay, perfect. So here we have the players here. What have we got? Points. Smith Rowe on 13. Yes, we know Rodgers on 4. This is the touch heat map for both players. Smith Rowe picking up some good positions, but as we know, Rodgers picking up some fantastic positions as well. When we come down to the actual underlying numbers based on per 90 minutes, XG in Smith Rowe's favour at 0.3 compared to Rodgers at 0.15. But Rodgers putting up a bit more of a shot volume. Shots in the box in Rodgers' favour. And Rodgers being a bit more of a creative force. For me, if I was looking to invest in one right now, I think Rodgers at 5 million is the one that I'd slightly prefer. I think he's looking really, really offensive in that Villa team. He's cheaper and the fixtures are actually turning fantastic for Aston Villa. So of the two, I think they're both fantastic, but I think Rodgers on the eye test and the underlying numbers is really looking brilliant. And I would lean towards Morgan Rodgers over Smith Rowe, but please do let me know in the chat which one you would lean towards. God AEM has put a super chat as well. Thank you so much, my friend. Are Salah, Palmer and Haaland close to price increase? Great question. Let's get that up on here right now for you. Just getting that for you, mate. So, based on Fantasy Football Fix, we can see that, firstly, Mo Salah looks like he could rise in price tonight. This one looks very, very likely. In terms of Cole Palmer, no, it would be very surprising if Cole Palmer was to rise in price. And in terms of Haaland, again, very surprising because his ownership's quite high already for his price to rise. So based on what you said, Salah looks like he will rise in price. Palmer and Haaland look like they are going to be a little bit away from a price rise. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. Much appreciated. What time do price rises happen? Usually around 2 a.m. UK time. So nice and early in the morning. Chelsea have a great run of fixtures. I do agree. Vigo saying, should I buy Savio? Personally, I think it's a little bit of a risk for minutes. What's doing Nkunku just joined Senan saying, for me, what I would say is this. Going into Chelsea, you know it is going to be a massive minutes risk. However, if you're going to go there, if you can get to Cole Palmer, obviously that is the route to go for. Otherwise, I think Madueke is probably the best pick based on what we've seen from Enzo Maresca's quotes. The only thing that I will say is that the transfer window is still open. And even though we scored a hat-trick, Chelsea do mad stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if we were to see some rumours of Madueke leaving previous to the game. In terms of outside of that, it comes down to your money. I think Luis Diaz is a fantastic investment for your teams. Otherwise, I honestly think Eze is still a good pick at 7. If you want to come all the way down, I love Rodgers at 5 or Smith Rowe at 5.5. Now, final few things before we wrap it up, guys, because I do need to have my tea. I do apologise. I just want to take a quick look at the fixtures coming up just before we conclude this to get a bit of an idea on maybe what teams we need to start targeting, maybe some teams that we need to look to move away from. So, Liverpool right now, as we know, are a team that we've always wanted a piece of, and they're going to become even more popular from game week 4 onwards. Forest, Bournemouth, amazing fixtures. We're going to want a piece of that. Arsenal, on the other hand, are very mixed. As I stated, I think right now you keep your Arsenal, but I wouldn't be looking to invest in them because Spurs in 4, City in 5. I think we keep our Arsenal, wouldn't be selling them, but maybe have a bit of a reassessment period from game week 4 to 5. Maybe we come off us, maybe we move away from the likes of Saka, maybe bring in another Liverpool asset in game week 4, and then look to come back to Arsenal on a game week 6 wildcard. That is definitely something to consider. Brighton as well. People looking to move early on them. I think we're still 1 game week out from going there. I think you can wait until game week 4 and then have a piece of them. Everton, we're just not touching. We've seen nothing good from them. And we knew Chelsea's fixtures already were fantastic. We knew this already. Long term, they're great. It's just which one that we go for. Which one can we actually trust is going to deliver? I've spoken about this. Madueke would be my number 1 pick. It was a little bit before the hat trick as well because of the Enzo Maresca quotes of him being the only winger that is suitable to his system. So I think Madueke could be a good pick. The one that I really want to raise is going to be Aston Villa. Leicester away, Everton at home, Wolves at home, Ipswich away. Now, when we take a look at Newcastle's fixtures, Tottenham, Wolves, Fulham, City. Very, very difficult. And a certain Alexander Isak priced at 8.5 million. Is it actually logical if you have the funds available to upgrade Alexander Isak to someone like an Ollie Watkins where the fixtures get better? Now, this is the perfect example of going off our eyes. Based on what we've seen, Ollie Watkins is actually a terrible transfer for our teams because it looks like he hasn't delivered. If we come into the status, we can see here Ollie Watkins was sold by so many people last game week, and he's still being sold by loads as well coming into this week. Back-to-back 2-pointers, not ideal at all. However, in that Arsenal game, he put up some good numbers. 0.87 XG on another day, he scores a goal, and people actually start to look at the fixtures for Ollie Watkins and think to themselves, oh, he's actually got great fixtures. So for me, with Ollie Watkins, came off around the 64th minute, which is a concern, I'm going to be honest with you. That is a big concern with Watkins. But look at the fixtures. Leicester away, Everton at home, Wolves at home, Ipswich away. I think this is a good time to go to Watkins. I know the confidence isn't there right now on the player, but if you want to go there, be a little bit early. I don't berate anybody doing that off the back of Alexander Isak if you do want to. I think it is a good choice. And I apologise, I haven't had the fixtures up on the screen. I've had the wrong slide up. I do apologise. Basically, what I'm trying to reference here is the fixtures are great for Watkins. And as I mentioned, he is being sold by a lot of people right now. So I think it's a good time maybe to come on to him if you want to. Joe saying never picking a Villa player, but I also think you were very unlucky not to have the returns this week. He missed 2 sitters, but on another day, he would bang. Benji saying, is Madueke now essential? No, he is not essential. I would not be putting him in that category at all. I still think he could be a rotation risk. On another day, he could be coming off. But I do think if you want a 6.5 million option, I think Madueke is going to be the flavour of the month right now. And I do think he is a good pick if you want to go there. He just suits the Enzo Maresca system a bit more than some of the other players. So, finally, guys, to wrap up this live stream, I want to do a quick update on what I'm planning to do with my team, because as you can see, I'm in a bit of a predicament where I do have Christopher Nkunku, and based on what I've seen, I need to probably sell him. Now, I'm not going to be doing it tonight, even though Nkunku's price is falling, because I just like to wait a bit closer to the deadline to see if any more information does come about. So I'm just going to put it out there. I'll be very, very surprised if I make an Nkunku move tonight, especially something like Nkunku to Madueke. I just do not think that is the right move to do tonight, especially with Chelsea playing on Thursday night. All it takes is a couple of injuries. Suddenly Nkunku emerges as the go-to player, and then we have a different ball game altogether. So take a look at my team. I'm pretty content with it. Goalkeeper, I'm never going to make a transfer with. Defenders pick themselves. I'm not forcing a transfer there. Saka's great. Jota's great. Rodgers is great. Smith Rowe's great. So I'm going to be honest. I absolutely could roll a transfer this week. I have one available to me. And with Nkunku sat on the bench, I actually do think it is absolutely fine to go there. Especially in our situation right now where rolling transfers is such a powerful move. Even though I do have Nkunku, and of course it is a problem for my team, I look at the fixtures in game week 3. I don't really want to go into another Arsenal asset because the fixtures afterwards are terrible. I don't really love the Aston Villa midfielders outside of Rodgers, and I feel like I have the best one available. Brentford, I'm not going to be touching with terrible game weeks 4 and 5. Chelsea, as I've spoken about, I feel like it is a lottery which one you go for. So unless I go sideways to a Madueke, I'm not going there. Everton, we don't touch. Fulham, I'm tripled up on. Ipswich, I'm not touching. Man City, I'm not touching because of the rotation risk. So when I take a look at it, I think to myself, there aren't really that many options. Chelsea have the money fixture, but I don't know the player to go to. Liverpool, I love, but it doesn't feel like the right week to invest in them against Man United, which is going to be truly the first real test for Liverpool. So right now, going to be honest with you, I'm planning to roll my transfer, which will mean coming into game week 4, my original plan was always to wildcard. However, coming into this week with 2 free transfers available, it gives me a lot of flexibility on my team. One move that I could do is sell Alexander Isak, and I didn't mention him in game week 3, I do apologise. One move that I could do is Alexander Isak to Watkins, but I personally think I just want to see a little bit more from Watkins in terms of guaranteed minutes before moving away someone like an Alexander Isak, who, to be honest with you, is guaranteed minutes in that Newcastle team regardless. So I'm happy to stick with Isak against Spurs, because I think defensively they definitely can be got at St James's Park. So rolling the transfer most likely is the move. And let's be real, the team still looks great in game week 4. Now, I've made the problem in the past of selling Saka in my team, and he has hurt me in big fixtures. But if there ever was a time to do so, it probably would be in game week 4 with Tottenham, followed by Man City with a potential game week 6 wildcard. So one move that I could do, again, it depends on what we see, is to Saka to Luis Diaz and triple up on Liverpool in preparation for Nottingham Forest at home. And to be honest with you, once again, I could easily just leave my team as it is and be done with it. The other option that I could do here is, if I wanted to, be gone of Nkunku, bring in Luis Diaz with the money I have available, and bring him into this starting 11 as opposed to most likely probably be somebody like Smith Rowe, and maybe we back the West Ham defence, and the team could look something like this, still with one free transfer available, and I stick maybe with my Arsenal, or I look to move away from my Arsenal defenders. What I'm trying to say is this: I personally think rolling my transfer at Game Week 3 is the most logical move. I don't personally want to get into the Chelsea lottery right now until we see a Chelsea team that is actually structured in place in the mould of Enzo Maresca. So for that reason, I think I roll my transfer, back the cheap ones like Rodgers and Smith Rowe with their favourable fixtures, and then reassess in Game Week 4. Yes, Nkunku's price is going to go down, but with the 1.5 million in the bank, I have flexibility to go elsewhere on my team. Perfect. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for tuning into this live stream. Slightly longer than I intended, but of course, it was a popular one, so I really do appreciate you guys joining in. It's always awesome to chat to you guys in the chat. Sometimes when I do the normal videos, I don't really get a chance to properly engage with you all. So what I'm going to say is this: if you have enjoyed it, please do consider subscribing to the channel. We're doing daily fantasy content, and to be honest with you, it's just getting juicier and juicier each and every game week. So if you do want to stick around, this is the time to do so right now. I'm going to be dropping my transfer plan video tomorrow. I've spoken about how I'm planning to roll the transfer, but I'm going to be honest with you, there's a lot of flexibility with my team. So I think it is worth tuning into tomorrow, because I'm going to deep dive into options available, what to do with specific teams. So make sure you do subscribe, and of course, hit that notification bell so you do get notified on any video that I do drop. We're going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Have an amazing evening, and I'll be doing a live stream hopefully middle of next week, Wednesday, and then maybe one on Saturday morning, definitely. Thanks so much, guys. Have an amazing evening. Take care, and I'll see you real soon. Cheers.